Islam, bet they make them. Welcome to NWAR Astrology. I'm John NWAR. Today is Friday, January the 15th of 2021. Mercury is stationing retrograde in just 2 weeks on the 30th of January. So today, that means that Mercury is entered shadow for its retrograde period. And when this happens, a lot of the typical Mercury retrograde energies are coming in. And for some, depending on where Mercury is in your chart, and especially how it's aspecting, this current transit is aspecting your natal chart aspects, you might even feel those energies a little heavier now than you will during the retrograde period. Like for instance, for me, already just before I started to record this video, the ring light that I have here started messing up. Would not turn on. It was plugged in to the same power outlet that everything else was plugged into. Everything else was fine. I had to unplug it twice and plug it back in before it would turn on. So it wasn't even just a matter of simply unplugging it, plugging it back in. So if you're dealing with some technical issues, definitely give it a few tries before you call it quits. That's what Mercury retrograde is all about. Mercury retrograde, and just all retrograde periods in general, are about reimagining, right? Reviewing, revising, remixing, reworking, and revolutionizing an aspect of your life. And since Mercury is dealing with the mental realm and communication, and of course the mind, this is about revolution in our thinking and a revolution in our communication. Right now, Mercury is in Aquarius, which is the social house, one of the social houses, and it is impacting very heavily the way we communicate, especially social media, especially with everyone being locked for the most part. Not really, it's more of an illusion, right? But the idea that most people are not interacting outside in the same social arenas the way they used to. There's not as many people congregating in the streets and in restaurants and in parks, etc. So our communication is, when it comes to the larger social group, comes to the world, and as it has been even before this pandemic, is through social media. And now we are really seeing a revolution in social media, and in the way in which, probably many of us viewed social media when it first came out. Social networking was what it was, right? And social networking kind of shifted into social media. And it's just interesting to see everything that's happening with the censorship that is very, very rampant in this technological world, and the power grabs that we're seeing happening from the large conglomerate tech industries as they're moving into the realms of politics on the world stage. So it's a very interesting time right now, and because of how shocking everything is, this is really bringing up and stirring up a lot of emotions and a lot of people. A big thing about the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius that I mentioned in my Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius video a couple of weeks back, maybe about a month now. If you didn't see it, go check it out. It's got a lot of information on all of the energies that we're going to be seeing this year, but definitely for the next few years to come. So a big thing about the Saturn-Jupiter in Aquarius energy is about a revolution of society. It's the Aquarian nature, and it's both expansive as well as constricting at the same time, because Saturn constricts and Jupiter expands. And Aquarius is a humanitarian, but it is also the, hermit. It's the wise man on the mountains who's stays outside of the village, but he can lead the village, or perhaps heal the village. So there is an aspect of interconnectivity. There's an aspect of humanitarianism, but there's also a need and a driving desire and want to escape the status quo social structures that have existed, because Aquarius is about the future. And so it's just really interesting to kind of take all of these aspects and keep these in your mind as you see what's happening on the outer world, everything that's being projected at you on your phone or television or computer screens right now. Because the energy that you see online is actually not what you're experiencing in the streets when you do go outside. At least that's my personal view of things. So I think a lot of it is coming from pent up, unreleased feelings and emotions. And right now, this is a final purge. That new moon that just passed, this was a final purge. And I think, I think some things need to be said. I think there's nothing wrong with holding people accountable or stating your feelings and standing on them. And, I think people just need to, if you have a change of heart, change of mind, there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with realizing, maybe things are different than I thought they were. So I think there's room for us to have a little bit of grace and compassion in everything, because we all need to kind of shed the old skin right now and these old ideas, the old thought patterns, the old emotions. And so this purge that's happening collectively is long overdue. And it's important to note that they said the revolution will not be televised. Think about what that means. Really think about it. Because what is projected to you, rebellions of such are orchestrated and controlled. But the true revolution is a revolution of the mind, a revolution of thinking. We're dealing with Aquarius right now. And we are dealing with how we think, how we communicate, and we're dealing with how this deals with our role in society. A lot of the energies that happened this past week in news stories, various information coming out, is furthering that Aquarian need to separate from a larger tribe, right? And then find your own tribe and group together with those of like minds. And this is something that is naturally supposed to happen, but at the same time, it's important to remember not to be led and not to, just run away from the life that you knew and everyone and everything that you loved, because that can be a very shocking and jarring experience when you find yourself now alone amongst yourself. Many versions of yourself, right? That's an interesting thing. So in the current chart of the day, Mercury is in the 9th house with Gemini as our ascendant. So it's all about studying and research. Mercury just came off of a conjunction with Jupiter, so it's expanding our minds right now. And the sun, which is our soul, our inner light, is just coming off of a conjunction with Pluto. It's a lot of transformative energy, a lot of transformative energy right now. And Mercury is also squaring Mars, which is conjunct to Uranus in Taurus. And the Mars and Uranus in Taurus is the driving force behind this rebellious, revolutionary energy that we are feeling right now at this moment. Definitely the square happening between that conjunction as well as the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. So as Mars gets closer to its conjunction to Uranus, we are going to be having this feeling of, oh, all is revealed, but after a shock, after some turmoil. In fact, Mars and Uranus energy in Taurus is the energy of an earthquake. Uranus itself is the energy, of earthquakes. And I read today that I believe it was Indonesia, there was a big earthquake already. And so we are starting to see some of this energy take place. Sending out, love and energy to the people who are dealing with that tragedy right now and the lives lost. Because this time we're going to start seeing a lot more people go as revolutionary things happen. Some of it are going to be natural disasters, and some of these things are going to be disasters that are started by people, right? It's important not to get caught up in the Mars Uranus energy and get riled up. The moon, our emotions, the moon is squaring Lilith, which is highlighting our rebellious instinct, our rebellious nature, especially here in America. We are a nation full of many peoples who have revolutionary hearts, and always have, no matter where you come from. If you are in this country, it is because you do believe in the core ideals of freedom, or so it should be. Those who do not believe in freedom do not have long to exist on this land, because this is the place here on this earth where at all costs freedom must be preserved. That's all I'm going to say on that. And it's important not to get too caught up in this rebellious energy, because Neptune is semi-squaring Mars and Uranus in Taurus. And so this can bring about some illusory energy dealing with the feelings of this rebellious revolutionary energy. Like Aquarius is all about removing yourself, especially right now. It's all about removing yourselves a little bit from the crowd and observing, studying. The Mercury, Jupiter, and Aquarius energy also speaks to studying. So there's going to be a lot of information coming out. And so a lot of people are going to be doing a little bit more due diligence at this time. And it's really benefiting time to really study before any action is taken. It's also important to look at the conflict that's stirred up between everything that's happening, and think about what creative solutions that we ourselves can find and bring to the larger society in the future. Mars in Taurus is a slow-moving energy. Taurians deal with value and they deal with tradition. So anything, especially dealing with the Uranian energy there, anything that's rushed or too fast or forced, it can definitely lead to an explosive sort of situation. So right now it's about initiating ourselves and our souls through this conflict that we see going on around us for the future, not to force anything to necessarily happen right this second, because there's only so much that can be done at any given point in time. I've already seen a number of people, myself included, who are taking their talents, their long learned talents, and creating alternative platforms, be they magazines or social media or directories or videos or documentaries, where people can share information and share their experiences and their stories. And as we see the censorship grow, we're going to see more of this happen. We're also going to see, restrictions in other areas of our lives, and we are going to see revolutionary systems and ideas pop up wherever these restrictions are imposed. This is the energy that we are in right now. It's important not to get caught up in it all and led and become part of the theater of it all, but rather think on how and why we want to integrate these new revolutionary, transformative feelings into our work and into our everyday lives. That's all I got for you. All right. Islam, Pax et Amor, Infinite Lusum. Moral, peace.